guys, welcome once again. In this tutorial, I'm going to quickly show you how you can Dockerize your application. What I'm going to use here is Django Application. But the concept is the same no matter what kind of application or web application you want to deploy. So this project is going to involve Django application. Obviously, the container is going to involve a Postgres database, and then we are going to use the tool Docker Compose, which you can use to build several images at once. So let's start. Oh, by the way, to show you the outcome of the application that we are going to build, for example, or rather the application we are going to containerize, it will be something like this. This is the app. This application displays a weather forecast of different cities. So whatever city you type in here, for example, it shows you the weather forecast. Uh, Let's check London, for example. It shows you the weather forecast. So let's check New York. It shows you the weather forecast. So that's what this application does. But what it does not really doesn't have anything to do with what we are going to achieve now. So no matter what kind of web application you have, the concept is very similar. So just keep on watching till the end, and I hope that this tutorial is going to be helpful to you. So let's get started. Before we start, I'm going to show you a couple of things. So there are some settings in our project which we are going to first of all look into. By the way, the application I'm trying to Dockerize is, as you can see on my screen, is Docker web application. We are going to start by by going to our settings, and in our settings of our Django project, in the allowed hosts, we can specify there something. If you already have your web host, for example, you can put it there. But in this case, we can just use star, which is not something you do in a real world project for security reasons. So usually what you should have here is your host name. But because we are going to run this inside of Docker, so we are supposed to have something there. So in this case, I'm using the star sign. So the next thing we are going to do is what we are looking at here is the default database that that the Django web app usually come with. But what we are going to do here, like I said already, is that we are going to use Postgres. So for that reason, we are going to delete what we have here and add our Postgres information, as you can see. So first of all, we have this as quickly stuff here. So let us import OS. Import, I think it's OS. So once we import that, those quickly stuff goes away, as you can see. If you have used Postgres before, or if you have worked with Django before, you can understand what these things what these things are, right? So we have the engine, the PostgreSQL engine. We have the username, the database name, and so forth, the port name, the password. So I believe these are all the things that we need here. So let me save this. Once we save it, we need a couple of stuff here in order for before we can start to we continue with our development. So what I'm going to do, we are going to create our Docker file, which is where we are going to declare the images that we are going to use. We are going to create our requirement.txt, which is where we are going to have all the packages that our application need to run. Then we are going to create our Docker Compose, right? So in order to do that, let me go into the project, uh, weather info 2. That's the project. So what I'm going to do here is, you know what, let me use my terminal. I prefer to use that. So in terminal, I'm already there. So what I'm going to do is to create the files that we are going to need. So we're going to need our Docker file. We are going to need our requirements.txt. We're going to need our Docker Compose, docker-compose.yml. So these are some of the files that we are going to need. So let us go on and start to fill in these files. Now let's continue with our project. The first file that we created was a Dockerfile, which has no extension, by the way, as you can see. All other files that I created had extensions, but this one had no extension. So what we do, here is the code that we are going to use. First of all, we declare our Python image, which we are going to use to run our Django app. Then we have other things that we declared here. So what the second line here does is that simply it kind of minimizes the size of our packet, our image, right? That's the simplest way I can explain it. Instead of copying a whole lot of files that are unnecessary, this helps our package to kind of be picky, our image to kind of to be picky in terms of what it adds to the what is added to the package. We also have this third line, which kind of gives it directive to kind of display the logs in terminal. Then now we are creating this directory inside the Docker container that is going to be created. Then we run this very line 5 here. These are the things that it's kind of packages that we are going to update and install these packages that are shown here. Now, um, if you remember, we did create requirements.txt. It was one of the files that we created earlier, requirements.txt. So what will happen is that the file, or rather the packages that we are going to have inside requirements.txt, uh, this very file is going to be copied into this directory that we created inside the Docker on line 4. That's what is going to happen. After that, we run pip and upgrade pip and then install those packages that are inside of the requirements.txt. So after that, everything in the directory is copied, in the root directory is copied into the app directory. So we expose port 8000. The last line here, the line 10, what it does is that inside the container is going to run our it's going to run and start up our Django application. So if you have developed a Django application before without running it in container, for example, you would kind of recognize this very command here because it is the same command that you use to run or to launch your Django application. So this is what this Dockerfile does. I'm going to go on and save this. Now let's go to the other file which we already covered here, the requirements.txt. So let's go into that file. As you can see, nothing is here yet. The file is empty. So we are going to populate it with what our Django application needs in order to run. So to do that, let me go back to the terminal. Let me clear the screen. Now, there are the packages that we are going to use, that our Django application is going to use. So we are going to use pip install. Let's install those required packages. So we are going to have, if you remember, I mentioned the database in our settings file. It was, so the package we are going to install now is related to the database that we are using, because if you remember, we removed the custom database that comes with Django, and we added our Postgres database there. So what we are going to do is, wait, let me actually copy this somewhere because it's quite a difficult one to pronounce. So we are going to use this. So that's related to the database. The next thing we need is Django, which is obviously the project we are working on. Then we need a request. So let's try this and see what happens. It says using, okay, Django could not find. So let me see what this is saying. So the reason here that we got that error is because, oh, let's clear this. So this is supposed to be requests with s on the end. Let's run it again. So now it's collecting all these packages that our application requires in order to run. So as you can see, our package is still empty. So, or rather, our requirements.txt file is still empty. So what we do now, uh, so let us populate that file, requirements. Be sure to get the spelling right, requirements.txt. So let us go back to our file. As you can see, our file has been populated for us. So after installing those packages, you just run the pip freeze greater than requirements.txt. So this has been populated for us. So as you can see, that's related to the this one is related to the database. This is related to some package that are used in my views. This one is related to, this was the Django that we are working with, then with other things that our project is also dependent on. So now, the next thing that we have is to go to our Docker Compose file and fill in the file. Now, let us populate our Docker Compose file. Here is the code that we are going to use here. So we are declaring our services. So in this case, there are two services that we are going to use here. That basically these are like the services that make up our container. So one of them will be the web, as you can see, which is the web app. Then the second one would be the database, which is here. It is important to understand that indentation is very important when you are dealing with Dockerfile. So be sure to indent your file as appropriate as possible. So that's why I am showing you this file content slowly so that you can see how it is indented. Um, So basically, we are going to, here is the image that we are going to, the image that we are going to build. Here we are going to start the container. Here are the ports. So it's basically mapping the container port to the port of the host name where we are uh, developing our app, so that we will be able to access our container, our application on our host, because the application will be running inside of the container. So in order for us to access the application running in the container on the host machine, you need to map the port numbers. So that's basically what we did here. Here, we are creating this volume in, you remember the volume we created in when we populated our Docker file. So if you remember, we called it app. So this depends on database on DB, which is another service that we have here on line 20. So to make sure that DB also starts. So both of them, both the web app is going to wait for the DB to start. So we are declaring our environment variables for our application. Now we have our Postgres image version 15 here. So shortly, I'm going to show you where we got this from. Also, if you remember when we declared our Docker file, we also declare this image, Python image here. I'm going to also show you where both of these images come from. So after that, we have our environment variables. So these are basically related to the Postgres database. So as you can see, we have both the database name, the username, and the password. So we are creating this volume to kind of persist our database data inside of inside of the Docker volume, so that it does not stop when the data is not lost when our application stops, right? Also, so that when we update our application on the host name, it will be able to update also the application that we are developing. Now we are mapping the database ports here, right? So this is the content of the Docker file. Let me go on and save it, and be sure that you, like I said, indent the this very content of the Docker file appropriately. Otherwise, you're going to get error message. Now, I'm going to take you and show you where I got this image, Postgres image, and Dockerfile on and this Python image. So, as you can see, this is Docker Hub, which is the repository that we use for where you can get basically all the images you need for your application. So as you can see, this is Python. The package that we used is let me check again. So Python, we use package 3.11 Slim. Here we have Python, let's say 3.11. 3.11. This is where we got our, this is what I'm using. So as you can see, we are using this package 3.11 Slim, which is exactly what we've got here. So you can choose what version is appropriate for what you're doing. So for Postgres, we are using version 15. So let me show you for Postgres. Let's see. Postgres version 15. That's Postgres. So let's say 15, which is which is that. So we are using Postgres version 15. as you can see. So that's what we are using as our database. So also you can get more information about this when you just scroll down there. As you can see, um, all the information you need is actually mentioned here. So because I want this tutorial to be quite short, so we won't go through each and everything that is here, but you can read more of it when you come to this repository. Now it's time to build our images. So in order to do that, let us run the command docker compose build. If there is no error in our project, it's going to build. As you can see, it's building our image now. So this will take quite some time. So what you are looking at now are different layers of our image. Sometimes it might take a minute, sometimes it might take a couple of minutes. So just keep an eye on it. If you got error, all you just need to do is to go back and check. Based on the error you got, obviously, you go back and check your files, check your project to make sure that everything was written the way they should. By the way, I probably should point out that before you do this, before you run this command, you need to make sure that your Docker is up and running. Your Docker desktop is up and running, as you can see here, because sometimes I make mistake and run the command without starting the Docker. It is important to check that. So I'm going to leave this now and come back when it completes. Now that as you can see, our image has been built. So I believe it is complete. If you look at this, I believe you can recognize some of these commands that we have here, which is what we had in our Docker file, as you can see. Now, what we need to do is to create and start our containers. In order to do that, we can use almost the same command that we used earlier, but now we have up. So this you could use. Then we could do it in detach mode by adding -d and run it. So as you can see, it's created our containers. So now let us check what we got. I had some containers here before, which I had some containers here, so I don't know what I'm going to find. So let me check Docker Compose PS. Okay. So with PS, you can see only the containers that are up and running. If you wanted to see including those that are not running, you can add a hyphen A there. So now, as you can see, that is our image, Postgres image. The container name is that, and you can see our web application image. Now that we have this, we can go on and test our application on our host machine. Now, on our local machine, we can test our application. We can type there 127.0.0.1, then the port number we mapped it to, which is 8000. When we do that, here is our application, which I introduced to you earlier, right? So this application now is running is Dockerized, is running in our container. Now we can test our application, check some cities. For example, as you can see, we can get weather forecast of a lot of the different cities based on what we typed in, right? So this is how simple it is. to Dockerize your application. So the concept is quite similar no matter what kind of web application you want to deploy. So I hope that this has been helpful. If so, can I ask you to subscribe to my channel, to like, to share, and yeah, to subscribe to my channel, please. I want to get my subscription up. So thank you and have a enjoy coding.